Welcome to Roof It Up. This is a podcast about innovators, entrepreneurs, business leaders, and their stories about the course they took by Saenz Global.
Hello and welcome to Roof It Up by Saenz Global. Super excited. Today we have a really amazing guest on our show. His name is Robert. I literally met him at one of our favorite events, RoofCon, and he is the founder and CEO of something really incredible. So I'm actually going to give him the mic and let him introduce himself.
My name is Robert, as you mentioned. I'm the founder of RAES. We are an all-in-one management company for roofers.
And so how in the world did you decide to I need to build a CRM?
My father owns his own roofing company.
Nice.
My three uncles, all of his brothers, own their own roofing companies as well. Yeah, so, funny enough, growing up around roofing my entire life, literally, I would be woken up by the sounds of the diesel trucks firing up in the morning and the crew guys loading up. That was right outside my window. I always kind of joke that Superior Roofing, which is my dad's company, was across the hallway from my bedroom. Yeah, so I was actually, up until 2020, I was working on my PhD.
So you were full on, I'm going for my doctorates. I'm all into school. Okay, cool. And what were you going for your PhD for?
Ninth year, yeah.
Okay, what were you going into? Nice. Okay, so you were a philosophy major. You were going for a doctorate in philosophy. Okay, this story is even getting better as we move on. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, and so 2020 hit, and obviously, the whole world shut down. Education ended up being a really, really tough place to be in at that time. Everything was switched to virtual. All the best parts of it were really stripped away, and I think there's still sort of hemorrhaging education professionals are just going everywhere else, right? Mm-hmm. And so I had also, my first daughter was born in 2019. And, so I was kind of just finishing up and hitting the job market. And then it was okay, everything's shutting down now. And I was okay, as I said, I didn't want to necessarily be in the roofing industry. I was I'm not going to go back to the family roofing company. I'm not going to do it. But you got to feed your kid at the end of the day. So, and funny enough, they were having a really hard time holding down a production manager. So they'd had quite a bit of turnover.
I don't want to go back, but I'm going to go back. And obviously the family was definitely having some, like you said, in that position, that role, they were having some difficulty maintaining someone. So then I'm assuming that is the role that you took on, correct?
Yes. And I instantly kind of got in there. And it was so funny because the company had grown significantly. You mentioned my brother. So he had, we were primarily commercial for the first 25 years. Maybe doing one residential a week. And then my brother he's, very go-getter type. And he came in and kind of built the residential side to match the volume of the commercial. And so what tends to happen, with roofing companies that grow quickly is you outgrow your processes and things get a little chaotic. You hire on a bunch of employees, but those employees need to be given direction and the process, they need, to be able to
standard
function.
Operating procedures, all the good stuff. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So I get in there and I'm thinking, everything's got to be ho-hum because they're doing so well.
Right.
And, obviously they were getting by and things were getting done. But it was just needless chaos everywhere and things kind of slipping through the cracks. And one of the things was I, as the production manager, would see the job all the way through to completion and then just put the file in a little sleeve on the wall. It's payment ready to be received.
Right.
And then it would just sit there and there was just no process to bridge that gap between me and the accounting team, right? So it's all right, well, we're getting all the jobs done, but we're not getting paid. That's a problem for a business, right?
100%. And now you're looking at it not as you're not just simply doing, the work. You're seeing they're getting, the volume is growing, the revenue is probably looking really good. But I'm assuming again, a lot of companies love to talk about their revenue, but some owners don't even know what's your profit margin, right? So it's kind of it's realizing I guess when you were in that role, you were okay, there's a lot of gaps going on. We're not being as efficient and we're not streamlining as something needs to be. So I guess that's when the idea came up for you to build a CRM tool to help your family, or how did that go? How did that idea flourish?
Yeah. And actually, so my dad had kind of been experimenting with building some technology and had built some stuff just to use internally. Mm-hmm. And, I kind of was seeing we're having all these problems. We have this tool that, if we take it and really build it out and really just base it around the problems that we're facing, right? And I always say, like, RAES is not a software company, it's a solutions company, right?
Got it.
The problems that we're facing on an everyday basis, we can use tech as a medium to address those. And so we began to sort of just build out different aspects, right? And the nice thing about roofing is, like, everybody has the same core foundation, right? You sell it, you build it, you collect on it, right?
Correct.
And so that's kind of the foundation of our system. But within that, like, core foundation or core process, there's built in a bunch of micro processes that just kind of help you stay on track, give you visibility into all the different areas that you need to, whether it's follow up or just oversight or communication between team members, make sure that that's all built in, right?
Nice. And so, okay, cool. So then when did like you launch? Like I saw you at RoofCon. So when was like your official like launch date of RAES?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny. I just made a LinkedIn post about this yesterday. So we soft launched February of this year, and we went down to the IRE on a whim. I was just excited, right? Like the core of our system was built. I was like, I'm ready to share this with the world. And literally 2 weeks before the show, I'm like, yeah, we'll take a booth. We'll go down there. We're gonna own it, right? And I call it a little naive confidence. Yeah. And so we went down there, I had like some handouts, a banner, and I walk in the front door and I see like GAF's booth. They're like literally building what looks like an Apple store, like in their booth. I'm like, oh, they do it like that here. Okay. So we're like tucked away in a little corner, but that was such an incredible experience to just feel like you're part of something bigger, right? This industry is growing and there's so much opportunity, and just to kind of get plugged into that, like just gave that energy, right? Yeah. And made a lot of great connections and had a lot of great conversations. And so we took what we learned from that experience and really rolled it into now this, where we met at RoofCon was our big go-to-market, right?
Yeah. Love it. We love what you guys are doing. Our COO and also some of our operations team got to actually like get a full demo of RAES, and they really loved it. So if you're listening to this and you're like, what is this? Like where can our listeners actually go to find out more?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely just recommend heading over to our website. You can learn quite a bit about what we're doing. We've built our system to accommodate companies of all size. We love working with contractors who are just getting started.
Love it.
And who outside of just the tech might need a little bit of help, even just finding resources and being plugged into that network that I referred to. But we're also, for instance, my father's company they have about 20, pushing 30-ish employees, and our system services them really well. So we built it to be flexible and to accommodate. But raisetheroof.com, that's RAES, theroof.com is our website.
Love it.
And you can schedule to meet with us there. I don't know if this is fair game, but I mentioned having the philosophy background.
Yes.
And I think, so there's definitely a whole stereotype about like what kind of people like study philosophy and like how useful it is. Right. But I will say that, so it's not just head in the clouds, like what's real, like is what you're looking at, like, are we in the Matrix type of stuff? But I think what's been really valuable for building the system that I've built, right, and just taking on this project has been kind of the systematic thinking that comes with like just learning the rules of logic and this and that. And so I've managed to find some way, right? They say it wasn't possible, but some way to actually make philosophy useful in the real world. And that was by, building out a process that actually like flows and makes sense.
So I love it. I think also too, that just you were like, went to school for 9 years, and obviously going through education, through, doctorates, all that stuff, there's a lot of tool belt, like you're building your tool belt, right? So like a lot of critical thinking, a lot of other things that you have to be involved when going to, an intensive, training courses, all that stuff. So I think that definitely plays into what you're built out. And from what we saw, you definitely built out something that is really streamlined, and it really helps the user see from beginning to end their project, which is really nice. I love also how you mentioned your ideal client is pretty much you created it for all types of roofing contractors, but you really, really enjoy like brand new startups, right? Like roofing, like smaller businesses, right? Where you can kind of hold their hand and walk them through the process. Is that right? Is that kind of fair to say?
Yeah, I always say you can have a good amount of success in roofing just on pure hustle and grit.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see that. In fact, I just was working with a gentleman last night who signed up, and he's just so excited. He's like, I actually don't know much about roofing. I used to do solar, but like I just did the opportunity and I want to get after it and go at it. I'm like, perfect. Yeah. I'm going to give you all the tools you need to be successful, because that energy, right? If we can just harness that energy and that excitement and enthusiasm, that the possibilities are endless.
Yeah, totally. I love it. Well, Robert, it's so good to have you on our show. Thanks for like taking the time to jump on. Actually, my accent just went out. I just said thanks. That's weird. But as you know, I'm Brazilian, so sometimes my accent kind of pops out. Right? But thanks so much for being on the show. We really appreciate it. Again, if you guys are listening to this and you're like, what is RAES? Like, I want to know more. The best thing too is that Robert is the founder and the CEO. And actually, one thing about when you're kind of working with a startup company, right, that's in the like very early stages, is when you become a client, we are the owners and founders, we're a lot more involved. And so there's this benefit of that involvement. So definitely jump on there, getting connected with Robert and his team. And we're really excited to see what the future has for you. You guys are going to do big things. So awesome, Robert. Have a great afternoon. Thanks so much for being on our show. And all right, everyone, talk to you later. Bye.
Thank you for having me on.
Yes, for sure. Okay, I'm going to